Okay, guys, here we are, Strum Front Saturdays with Jim Bishop, Martin from Germany, I suppose. Right,
Hello, everyone.
there you go. I can hear you. You're coming loud and clear. You know, the British
Yeah,
call to duty, I just fast tracked it so we can get on get on Discord right off the bat. And Martin's on mute, Jim's on mute. But what I did was I had loaded up in
I'm using
Vassal. Go ahead.
I'm using push to talk, George. I'm sorry. Just I have background stuff going on here, and I don't want it to interrupt your recording.
Okay. The reason why I'm looking towards my left is because I have two monitors and that's how I use Vassal, and that's why I'm looking towards my left. And uh, I have nothing really organized in terms of what we should discuss or play. But speaking to Jim just before starting to record, I said, well, let's pull out J 29. And the reason why the counters have that red edge on them is because I used earlier um, an earlier version of Vassal to create this SSF, this starter kit file. Starter kit files, no, this scenario starter file and Vassal. And I've been playing this scenario now three ways with two people on the German side and on the Axis side, and one on the um, Allied side. And at least we can start playing. I know I did some pizza pockets for lunch. I'm eating a sandwich at the moment with Genoa salami and whole wheat bread. Um, what do you guys think?
I don't have time to play a whole game. I'm obviously in the
Ah,
middle of packing as I get ready to leave Germany.
I,
Um,
I think like an hour's worth of time would be okay. Um,
okay.
Alternatively,
I mean,
I can load up Unhorsed, which is a scenario from the latest journal that I played solo, and I've recently played against one of my other opponents, Mark Dennehy, and I kind of found out when I
right.
was playing solo, um, I really have to find a better mechanic of where I should put the dummies. And I know that you're interested in bocage, right? So we can even talk about bocage, and it's a lot shorter than Botha. So how do you like that?
Sure, sure. That's fine. Just for what it's worth, if I were playing Balta, I mean, I don't know the timing or arrival, but I might give the Germans the two player or the Russians the one player. Well, maybe the two
Yeah.
players because such a big group of people, and then the other side is just a little bit smaller. But I don't
Okay.
know. It's Balta is one of those interesting scenarios because it's one of the old originals, so it's really long, probably two turns longer than it needs to be at least. But
Okay.
it's been so long since I've played it. So
Martin,
yeah,
we can
if you
go ahead.
if you got another one, if you got another one, open that up. That one might be better. This one would take this one would take probably 30 minutes to even set up as the Russians, whoever sets up.
Okay. All right. I'll do that. So unhorsed J204, if I recall correctly. No, J207.
207,
Okay.
you said?
Yep. And you can synchronize to me. Martin, I don't know if you have
Okay.
Vassal set up so you can join us in the room called Strum Front. With my pronunciation skills, that will become really, really
Well, you've actually spelled it strum front like strum a guitar,
exactly.
not sturm, which
No, 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 no,
okay.
no. Strum,
Just making
like
sure you understood
this.
what you did. Ah,
We
so
don't
this
want to
is
get into a
Bocage
pickle again, you know.
J207 Unhorsed. Yeah, I mean, so this is an interesting one because of the discussion I've been having lately on whether or not attacking in Bocage favors the attacker or the defender. And I mean, I don't know if I want to, if we play too much here, but we can, I mean, I can certainly walk you through some of the examples on why that I think that's the case.
Uh,
This would actually be an interesting opportunity.
so you're saying that the blocage favors the attacker or the defender?
I've played quite a few games in Bocage. Let me walk you through a scenario here
Okay.
real quick, right? So put this here. Let's put this here. Let me drag out an Axis OB vehicle. I want to drag out. Let's just grab out the ubiquitous Panzer Mark IV, right? We'll pull a 4G or a 4D. Let's take a 40. No, 4F1.
Did you synchronize to me?
Give me a second. All right, so you got this guy. Yeah, you got this guy right here. Right? So this guy right here and this guy right here. And then let's pull out a Axis OB squad. All right, so this squad is just sitting here on the hedge, and he has mandatory wall advantage. And he can be concealed or unconcealed. It doesn't matter. Actually, I want to take this one out. I need Allied OB American squad 666. So this is what's going on right there. This guy is under a counter. He's got mandatory wall advantage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's a German movement phase, and this guy right here rolls up to this hedge.
Mm-hmm.
So then we put a wall advantage counter on that guy because he has mandatory wall advantage. We know who's got it. So what does this mean? Particularly with LOS between these two.
I think
Can't see each other.
Oh.
These two can see each other, but because this guy doesn't have wall advantage, this guy can see the hex, but he can't see any units therein. So there's no LOS there. So in the advancing firefights, this guy right here shoots some machine guns 8+2, puts a 1 morale check on him. This guy breaks. Sweet. Breaks. Now what happens? Wall advantage shifts because you can't be good order.
Oh.
Now this guy's got wall advantage. Now what does that mean with respect to that tanks? Now they can see each other because this guy's got wall advantage. And because he gets to go first in advancing fire, he shoots this guy in advancing fire, and he needs a 5 to hit right now, right? +4 bounding, +5, he needs a 4 to hit because this is a small target. But this guy couldn't shoot him in the movement phase because this guy had wall advantage. They couldn't see each other. So the attacker, it's things like that you have to pay attention to as the defender that can cause you serious pain. This guy rolls up to that wall, up to that hedge, and you can't see each other, right? You don't want this guy here. You want him really back here, so at least he's got a hedge. But but that requires you to take a bog check to come inside, so you may not be willing to do it, right? And so you have to think these things through when this comes in, because it happens all the time. You roll up on this guy. This guy's got wall advantage, even if he's concealed or not concealed. He has wall advantage. They can't see each other. Break this guy in advancing fire. Now this guy can see him, and he gets first shot. And it's really obnoxious when it's a Panther that pulls up, right? He can't roll for motion. He can't take a smoke defensive. I mean, he could take a smoke shot defensive first fire into the hex. It's probably about the best thing he could do, but it'd be dispersed and it goes away in his prep fire. And now he's got a 10 to hit, right? Buttoned up and small with naked and 8. But the point being is this attacker, he benefited from the bocage because of the way the LOS rules are written. And there are little things like that throughout the whole game, right? That happen all the time, right? Okay. And then the other thing is the other thing about bocage, I think, is remember it's what 2+ cost of terrain to go across a bocage X. So this is 3. This right here, assume this guy's not broken now. Mm-hmm. This is 3 movement factors, right? Right. So if you got your guys spread along a line here, right? Let me clone a couple of these. Right, you got your guys spread along a line here, kind of like this, looking to make the game, somewhat interesting. And he does a push along one board edge. Let's just say he pushes along this board edge coming down here. Like, now he's going to get slowed up coming across here again, but he can still go double time. 1, 2, 3, 6. He's got leader 7, advance, right? And now you got to try to get down here, and you got 2 bocages to transfer laterally. Plus, he'll probably push something to here and beat you, right? If he beats you to this spot, now you're going to have a hard time laterally transferring across this road in here. And so, as the attacker, I think it's very easy to section off bits of the defending OB. And so because you can section them off, you can bring, what Clausewitz calls superiority of firepower to bear in a very limited area and cut the ability of the defender to laterally reinforce. And it's almost like, I don't know how you would model it better, but it's almost as if the defender, he really almost has to set up in the middle of the board and be prepared to go right or left. He can't really defend to the edges of the board because getting to the top or the bottom is the hardest. So me, when I play on defense in the bocage, I would set up everything heavily inside of here. I would try to hold this hex so I don't get caught, at least until the first turn, and then be ready to move across. But that's the thing. I think bocage, when you truly understand the depths of bocage, I think you'll find it as the attacker, it doesn't scare you. It doesn't scare you that much. It's not like you're gonna say to yourself, oh, well, I'll never get there. Because you will get there. You'll find your ability to flank, provide shots, get in a position where he can't go. I mean, if he's stuck inside of this space and you just come like here, right? This guy, put this guy out of play and you're here, you just come over right here and you can go right down this road and you're concealed the whole way, right? Even though these guys could take a 12, it's a 6-up-1 as you're moving down this road. If these two guys fire group, right? Because you're concealed. You get a -1 on assault movement, but you get the +2 for the hedge, so it's a 6+1, right? If a 6 is a morale check, you pass in the 7s. So 6 is 45%, 7 is 50%, 58%. So this guy's got probably a 1 in 4 chance of breaking. Tops, right? And so you can eat, in this case right here, it's like the bocage is working against the defender, right? And that is ultimately the problem, I think, with the game is that the bocage, I almost feel like the bocages, some of the benefits of bocage should only apply to whoever's labeled the scenario defender, right? Concealment might be one of those things. A defender moving along behind that, but that should be concealed, but not necessarily an attacker. Because it cuts both ways, the things that make it strong defensive terrain, generally speaking, also makes it very strong attacking terrain. And there's no commander in the real world who said, I am happy to be attacking into bocage. Right? So that's my opinion on it, right? That's what I find most unrealistic about attacking in a bocage. I just find it not very, very easily done. So this was down here. The rest of this up here I pulled out. This right here I pulled out. This right here we don't need. So unhorsed, Americans win upon getting 10 victory points off. Prisoners do not count and non-crew MMC off the west edge. So you get 10 victory points off. What have you got? You've got, this is 10, 20, 22, 24, 25. So you have to get off about a third of your victory, about a third? No, sorry, 40%. If I'm not mistaken, these guys have canister. Yep, C7.
Yep, C7.
And then this guy's got, I think, C7 as well. Yep, C7. Yep. So I don't know. As the Germans, so if I'm setting this up as the Germans, I don't have the card in front of me. The Germans setting up from here back.
Yep.
I presume.
Yep.
All right, so how the Americans, so these things are wheeled, so they can't get across the bocage.
Correct.
Let me zoom in here a minute. That's probably not bypassable. That's probably bypassable. That's probably not bypassable. So you have to assume that those guys are going to end up going down along the road. They don't have any much choice.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so
But
how
they
do you
don't count for much. They don't count
well, they
for
don't count for
victory.
anything.
Yeah.
But the problem with them, you have to be careful with them is if you don't guard the road, then they'll come in here and then they're going to shoot into the back of your counter, in the back of your infantry, and they're going to cause you problems because they have so much mobility that they'll just drive right up into your grizzle and just cut you off. You can't. So I talk about this when I wrote my defending article. When you're defending, you want to this right here. People look at this and they're going to say, "Wow, I want to play a linear defense." And then maybe you pick a line like the F row and say, I'm going to defend that line, although it's probably a bad choice because of the way the terrain looks. But maybe you pick a line that runs like this H line to here. And that's great, but what you have to be careful about is when you're fighting somebody that has more mobility than you, because what could happen is they get in your back. They find a spot, they generate an opening, and they drive through it, and now they have more mobility, and their superior mobility stops you from getting back to plug the line. So that's what you got to be careful of here. And so that's why the road is going to be kind of important. This guy right here, he's fully tracked, so he can go across the hedges. I don't know if he has a Cullens or anything like that, but it's half plus bog to go over the hedge. He's not low ground pressure. So he's going to bog on like I think an 11, which isn't terrible. I might not risk it too much, but if I were going to risk it, it's not a bad option to risk it down here. 11, and bypass. You only have 2 bog checks to make, and then you could run. So that's something as the Germans you want to be a little careful of. The other thing you have to remember is as it goes across the hedges, you do have the opportunity for underbelly hits. But so a subtlety with underbelly shots. Let me talk you through this. So this guy right here is going to go across the hedge, and he's going to go across that hedge hex side. And in doing so, he exposes his belly. So the defender is sitting right here. Say he's sitting right here with this Panzerschreck. And so he says, I'm going to shoot the underbelly. Well, the interesting thing is the attacker gets to decide which vertex he goes across when he shoots. So the attacker, in this case, it doesn't matter because this guy can see both of those vertices. No big deal. But imagine if he were here. And now he goes over the hex side. And the American gets to choose which vertex. So he chooses this vertex here, E8, E7, F7, because there's no LOS along a blocage hex side. So he pops over and you can't shoot him on the underbelly. You'd have to shoot him here. Now, this Panzerschreck doesn't really care with a 26 to kill. You're not really too worried about it. But if it were an ATR, for instance, and had the opportunity to shoot an underbelly aerial armor factor, which is probably a 1, versus a side, which is a box 3, and then if he's smart, when he comes over the hedge, he does this, right? So now you have a side 3 hull 6, or a turret 6, right? And that ATR is a much tougher shot. Now, you'd rather shoot at the underbelly, and so again, because the attacker gets to choose, part of the defensive terrain is cutting against the attacker or cutting against the defender. And again, like I said, it's understanding the subtleties of the nuances of the way the terrain work that make it, to me, favor the attacker. So if you're setting this up as a defender, you have to kind of keep some of that stuff in mind, right? And so you have to ask. The good news is it's what time of year is it? Do you have this is 44. July 44, so I don't think you get Panzerfaust until next month, right? Let me look at the to kill chart. Vehicle to kill, heat to kill, 43. June 44, you have range 2 Panzerfaust. Okay, so this is July, so you have range 2 Panzerfaust on a 1 or a 2. No, sorry, 1, 2, or 3. So I would maybe set the gun up here, maybe here, but I think I would prefer here. And the reason here is somewhere along this road is because, actually, I'd maybe back it up to here. The reason somewhere along this road is because, obviously, I think you want to hold the road. And because they're entering off hex, or from off board, I would also take this opportunity to bore sight. So let me grab the this, I would also bore sight this hex. Right? This and this, because when he comes around, actually, I might not bore sight that one. Let's see, his vehicle's going to come in. They're going to go 1, turn 2.5, 3. So it'd be 1.5, 1.5, 2, 3. I might bore sight that hex. And the reason for that is because now he'll spend more than 3 movement points in my hex, line of sight, with this thing as it rolls down the road, or this thing as it rolls down the road. And I'll have a better chance to hit it. Because remember, as soon as he gains LOS to this goes from a hip gun to a concealed gun. Well, as soon as he gains LOS, not across the Bocage hex side. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then I might put, one of these, like this guy right here. I might put him here. And again, it depends on I'm not a huge fan of him there, just because, like I said, he could roll this right up. Well, maybe he wouldn't roll it up, but infantry that gets up here adjacent to me, I would, as an attacker, if I saw this and he didn't defend these hexes, I would push as hard as I could into here to advance into here to cut this guy off from heading back. So you have to think about how you're going to fall back. Yeah, I'd probably defend along this line like this. Somewhere like that. I'd probably have the medium in this area here. A couple of lights in amongst this guy. I'd put the 9-1 in with the medium, the 8-0 up here with this stuff. This stuff right here would probably hold the hedge for the first turn, probably the first turn is when I would fall back. Right? Because you got to figure on turn 1, he's going to come in, he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, road bonus 7. And that's probably not a good idea for a 6-1, but he could armored assault underneath this tank, right? For a 6 flat. And if he's feeling pretty frisky, he could go here for 7, for 8, right? For a late CX to here, and then he advances to the hedge, and then you're in trouble. Right? Because if he advances to the hedge at that point, now you got to figure out how you're going to handle that. Because if he ends up with infantry on this, then this guy's never getting away. He's going to have to just stay and shoot. Now, I don't know. Again, these things don't count for anything, so I might just drive one right up to the wall. If I saw this right here, I might just take this guy right here, right? And drive right up into his face, right like that. If he kills me, okay, whatever. If he doesn't kill me, I'd probably be better off there. I don't care. I want to put smoke here. So I might even come along here and even do I have an SD. I have a smoke pot, so I could either try my smoke pot 5, which is probably better than a smoke grenade, and then pop over to here, shoot him, see what he says and does. If he doesn't have a unit here, the only 2 units that are going to be able to shoot at me is stuff that's either here, here, or here, or here, or here. Right, because this guy, anything here can't see down the hex side, and anything further down this way will be blocked. I guess you could have something here that could shoot me. I mean, if you really wanted to be aggressive, you could put the gun like this. Right, and then you'd be able to shoot down along this road. You have an 8, this is 44, we said? Yeah, 44, so you have APCR 4. That comes on 1. Let me see how we would do this. It comes on like this. 1, 2, you've seen him for 1. 3, you've seen him for 3 or 2. 4, you've seen him 3 or 5. Right there you could shoot, right? So you've seen him there for long enough to shoot with a base 10, 2 moving, 3 small. So you hit him on a 7, you have an A4, a bore sight in there. Roll to hit. That's a hit, roll to kill, and he's out. Right? I mean, you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. The other thing to remember is because you're coming off board, you get some dummies here. I don't know. I would love to have time to play this. I just don't have it today.
Okay.
I took enough time off to come chat with you because I saw you said you wanted to have someone to chat with you, so I thought I would do that, but
Well, thank
I'm in
you,
the
Jim.
process of I'm in the process of my move, right? So I've got all my bags out in the other room. I'm running through laundry, getting my laundry ready. I have to separate out the ASL gear I need for the Human Wave tournament in DC because I'll be back in time for that. So I'm going to try to get to that because that is my home tournament. So I'll be staying in DC in a hotel for the first couple of days. Then I'll be going to my daughter's house for about a week and a half, and then we take possession of our new house on the 12th of January, or sorry, 12th of July. And so then I'll be moving into our new house, living on an air mattress, because all of our stuff will still be here in Germany until my wife leaves in August.
Yeah, I hear ya. Myself, I did some yard work, quick snack for the boys. I'm going to be making some meatloaf for supper at night.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm coming over to your
I
house for
love.
meatloaf then.
Or Salisbury steak.
Oh, Salisbury steak.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm coming to your house for dinner then.
Yeah, good idea.
So, all right, George. Well, I wish you a good night. Thanks, chance to have a chat with you.
Thank you,
Wish you good
Jim.
luck.
Thank
Hope
you for
some
passing by.
hope other people show up.
Yep, thanks so much.
Uh,
Take
yep,
care.
no worries. Have a good night, guys.
Have a great one, guys.
You leaving, Martin?
Yeah, this was way over my head. I just clicked the link on accident, but then I thought, well, why not come in? So I started the PC. But yeah, I my knowledge on the rules are not even close to have any way of following what you just went through.
Okay. I put some tutorial videos up on my YouTube site. I'll put a link to this one. I hope it helps.
Yeah,
And
no, yeah, and I think the problem with it's not a problem per se, but the issue is you really I think you really have to play ASL a lot to get going and to get started and just actually be able to play it. But
yeah,
it is a beautiful game for sure.
yeah. Who started me in ASL was my buddy Alain Chabot, and he did a lot of editing work for MMP. Um, so he got me started. I mean, I'm pretty sure my first couple of games in ASL were incorrect rule wise, but once you read the rule book and you have uh, a buddy that can guide you, you'll do well.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I played a couple of games, but never with vehicles.
Oh, any memorable games in terms of scenarios or?
I don't remember the scenario, but I do remember I had a crazy game with there were I don't remember what they're called, but there were heroes created, and yeah, there were a lot of double ones and a couple of double sixes as well, if I don't misremember. But yeah, it's really hard in the beginning. If you actually play against someone like who can actually play the game, you're gonna get stomped out most of the time. But I do appreciate the like kind of like the turn sequence, the fact that you're always kind of active, whether it's kind of like your turn or not, and just how you get punished so extremely hard for mistakes.
Yeah, the scenario that Jim went over, it's one of the more complicated ones with bocage, and
Oh yeah,
that's really what makes it a bit more complicated because it is what it is. Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, they're
But
not. The
maybe
rules
during my
are.
vacation, I will give it another go and try and yeah, try and play a bit at least.
Yeah, don't give up. If you enjoy the game, don't give up. Uh, you know, the more you play, the more you improve, both in terms of tactics and rules knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm
I
still
think.
not perfect.
What do you think about in terms of actually playing the game? Do you think that as a beginner, if you actually sit down and play, do you think it's do you think it's important to play more games, or do you think it's more important that every game is that you're very thoughtful on everything? So do you think it's more about quantity or quality overall?
Both are important. So quality is important, okay, to let's say 60-40, a ratio of 60-40. So in terms of quality, 60% and quantity 40, because the two are interrelated with one another. So quantity will give you practice plus gameplay, and then in terms of quality, um, if you are playing somebody against somebody like Jim, and he's been playing the game for 20 years, he can guide you in the right direction, right? But at the same token, reading the rule book slowly and methodically is important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been my methodology, like, but I think I play too much. I've been playing now, uh, well, Monday through Friday and Saturdays, early evenings. Um, at one point or another, I wasn't playing Monday, I wasn't playing Saturday, and um, well, Sunday it starter kit for a fellow that I've been playing the classic game, which preceded this. You know, um,
But
and
but do you
Tuesdays and
think
Wednesday
it's
nights it's an hour each. So
yeah? No, I think that for me at least, I think playing once every 2 weeks is probably what I could do. And I don't know if that is actually enough to actually make progress or not.
it should be. It should be. Playing
Yeah.
once, but how many hours are we talking about? Are you talking about 1 or 2 hours?
I mean, no, I mean, it could probably be more like 4 or 5 hours, I guess, if it was like once every 2 weeks.
Once every 2 weeks, 4 hours is sufficient. Yeah.
I think the problem is that in the beginning, it's really hard because you have to think about everything, even basic stuff like moving, shooting, movement factor, all of these things. So I think in the beginning, it's more hard on you and you get tired more easily and quicker. Um, and but yeah, it's for sure it's an interesting game. I actually own a couple of modules. Unfortunately, they're just sitting now, and unfortunately, it's actually much easier to play on Vassal, but it's more fun, I think, to play with the actual board, like face to face.
They're two different games, actually.
Yeah,
Now, uh, um, in terms of the rules, what I recommend to all players is start with chapter A and B,
yeah,
and be kind to yourself. Even try to just design your own scenarios where you have infantry and support weapons versus infantry and support weapons, and then go into ordnance and vehicles.
yeah,
And that helps. And Neil Hewlin has a lot of good tutorial videos that are step by step on his channel. Uh, and learning the defensive fire principles is very important in terms of winning the
mm,
game and playing it properly as well. Because then you can tell your
yeah,
opponent, hey, I moved only one movement factor in that hex. You can only fire me once and I have to expend more movement factors before you fire me again.
yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. Yeah, so don't give up hope, and if you enjoy playing this game, um, your availability
Yeah,
is more than enough.
I think it's also as a beginner, it's also very important to find the right opponent.
That's true as well.
obviously. And that might not necessarily be that could be personal. So maybe one person is a good opponent for me, whereas for someone else it's not a good opponent. I think it's how, and how you learn. I mean, the rule book in ASL is, let's say that it's not very. It's not like a rule book where it's like there's not like an introduction and then it's like, okay, so these are these, but it's more like a reference book. Everything is like a reference basically,
Hmm.
which makes it very very different. But no, I will give it another try. But at the moment I have young kids, and I don't have a lot of time. So unfortunately, it's on the back burner at the moment. But maybe in the future, when I have more time, I will prioritize it. And I think it's something that this is one of those games you have to prioritize it. You have to want to play it, otherwise you won't make any progress.
I played
It's
zero games when I was a younger man with two young boys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was only after my separation and divorce that I started playing, and
oh
and
yeah,
and then it was about 2.5 to 3 years after that.
yeah,
I had just at one point I came home to a semi-empty home, and semi-empty is because the kids were going to bed. I said I'll stay up another hour or two and just set up a board
yeah,
and look where I'm going to put the pieces. And that was a
yeah,
bit therapeutic as well. It was a bit therapeutic as well because I did something out of the ordinary uh, work, go to school, and cook
mm,
and whatnot. I actually had spent some time for myself. You know,
yeah. But I almost feel like ASL is a lifestyle game.
to a large extent, to some people, it is unfortunately. And before you open up those modules, a word of advice: think of what kind of storage you're going to need because I unfortunately clicked or opened just two modules and they're sitting in a 24-liter plastic vat. And in terms of storage, you need to have a good container to keep everything out of humidity. Um, but um, let's put it this way: a lot of people are into 3D printing their own counter storages now, and that is a good solution because all the Plano and Rocco and
Yeah,
what have you, they're big and bulky. And I'm looking forward to one day being able to have a small container that can fit back into the box and keeps the counter safe at the same time.
yeah. I actually bought the Racco solution, one
Oh,
of
yeah?
those. Um, but it's quite expensive. It's not
Mm,
perfect. Um, but I do agree with you. I think it's actually a pretty big problem just storing the stuff, and it's a
mm,
problem because you need to be able to get to the stuff easily and in an effective manner. Especially
mm.
because when you're playing the if you're playing the board game as a like face to face, you don't want to fiddle too much. You want to be able to find them in a timely manner to set up. Yeah, exactly.
And you'll need these
Um,
as well.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
You don't want to be picking up things with your fingers because the oil on your fingers will eat the picture away on the counter.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm actually gonna have to say goodnight. I'm actually going to play some board games now, another
okay, good
board
night.
game. But it was really nice talking to you, and maybe I will, bump into you on the server sometime. And
Absolutely.
I might be looking for a game now during my holidays, after the kids have gone to sleep, and just sit up a couple of hours. Maybe do a scenario or two.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Good
Well,
night.
have
Thank
a
you for
great rest of
stopping
the
by.
day. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Well, guys, there you have it. Our first Strum front. let's strum a little tune. I'm not too sure if it's going to sound nice or great, but we can try in any case. Let's see. Drum Front Saturdays. That sounds good. Thanks to Jim Bishop for alluding to that idea. Ah, I'm off as always. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. The first Strum Front Saturdays. You heard uh, advice from a very experienced player and a fellow that is just starting in ASL, and the challenges of finding time to play the game. I hope you enjoyed this episode and stay tuned for more. To Jim and Martin, thank you very much for stopping by. Take care.